Here's what's coming up tonight on Inside City Hall.
And so what we are asking of New Yorkers is to take every precaution they can in their own life.
Mayor Mamdani is facing his first major weather test as the city braces again. Tonight, I'll be joined by Republican candidate for Governor Bruce Blakeman to talk about his campaign for New York's top job. And I'll also be talking about Governor Hochul's push to speed up the environmental review process for housing construction across the state when I'm joined by a leading advocate. For the best news, debate, and analysis of New York politics, join us inside City Hall. Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. I'm Errol Lewis. Mayor Mamdani may soon be facing his first major test as mayor, responding to a snowstorm. How Mamdani manages the city and its operations will be watched closely by New Yorkers if snow does indeed pile up in the city this weekend. Our Kelly Mena joins me. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Errol. And a snowstorm and how a mayor responds to it can make or break his legacy. Mayor Mamdani is hoping his plans will be enough so he doesn't get criticism.
While we cannot control how much snow will actually fall this weekend, we can control how we prepare for and respond to this storm.
A snowstorm is set to hit the city this weekend. More than a foot of snow could fall on Sunday, presenting Mamdani with a challenge as mayor. The preparation begins Friday.
We will brine all highways, major streets, and bike lanes to mitigate snow and ice accumulation, and we are also going to accelerate cleanup once the storm has passed.
How quickly and efficiently Mamdani responds to the storm will be critical. Past mayors have had their legacies tainted by how they handled snow. Mayor John Lindsay didn't dig the city out for days during a major blizzard in 1969 that killed more than 40 people. Then there was Mayor Bloomberg, who was in Bermuda during the Christmas storm of 2010. Roads were left unplowed for days, straining city vehicles like buses and ambulances, and public transportation came to a near halt.
We did good a job as we wanted to do, or as the city has a right to expect.
In 2018, then Mayor de Blasio was caught off guard when a snowstorm hit harder than expected, leading to gridlock during the nightly commute.
I'm upset that New Yorkers went through it. I don't think it's fair to say that the city agencies could have stopped all of this.
Mamdani said he feels confident the city and his administration are prepared.
As we speak, our sanitation fleet is being transformed into a snow clearing fleet. DSNY is very good at what they do, and they are very well practiced at this work.
Starting Saturday morning, 2,000 sanitation workers will work 12-hour shifts around the clock to clear city streets. At night, 700 salt spreaders will be out with the city under a code blue emergency for getting homeless New Yorkers into shelter. Governor Kathy Hochul, who controls state roads, including the ability to declare a state of emergency due to extreme weather, had this warning.
The extreme cold can be deadly. Deadly. So please, there's been a lot of reports this year about cold weather, storms coming. This is one you need to take very seriously.
The mayor issued his own message to New Yorkers.
If you're interested in buying some groceries or getting a new winter coat today, I would recommend is the day to do so. Do not leave it until the weekend.
And the mayor says that he has not yet made a decision on whether there will be a snow day when it comes to the city students. He's hoping that they will be able to attend in person.
And they use their weather models. We, of course, have our team here who are tracking it. I guess we'll get a better sense as we get closer to Sunday.
Yes. So the mayor said earlier today that their weather prediction says that it's going to start late on Saturday into Sunday, maybe into Monday. They're expecting anywhere from 3 to 12 inches. I checked with our weatherman here, John David, about that. He says that it's really going to start on Sunday, that it's really just going to be very cold and dry on Saturday. On Sunday, early morning, maybe starting around 10 a.m., and then possibly into Monday. And I think for many New Yorkers, they're hoping that the streets stay very clear and walkable and also able to use public transportation.
The commissioner of the Office of Emergency Management just resigned the other day. Is that agency fully equipped and has leadership that's ready to go?
Yes, he announced his resignation, but he's actually not going to leave until February 11th. So Zach Iskell will be staying on past the snowstorm. It's not a good idea to have people leaving in the middle of a major weather event.
Right, and he's been through quite a few of these. That makes me feel better already. Thanks very much, Kelly. Mayor Mamdani will be on Mornings on 1 tomorrow in the 7 o'clock hour to talk more about snowstorm preparations. Turning now to other news, New York's political power brokers today reacted to a major court decision ordering changes to the only House seat in New York City held by a Republican. If upheld, the court order could upend this year's House races for candidates in both parties. Our Dan Rivers. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Errol. Not only are Democrats celebrating this court decision because it found that the district lines dilute the votes of Black and Latino New Yorkers, but it also gives the party a chance to redraw the lines to bolster Democrats' chances in the midterm elections so they can compete with Republican-led states that are redistricting its House lines. Meanwhile, Republicans here in New York say there are legal grounds for a successful appeal.
It is just really a blatant attempt to tilt the scale, take this seat, silence the people of Staten Island and Brooklyn because they cannot win on merit, on debate, or policy.
Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, the only Republican from New York City in the House, told New York One she'll fight a court ruling that could see her district redrawn to include more Democrats.
We will be successful in protecting the voices of the people of Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn.
A judge in Manhattan ruled this week that New York's 11th district, covering Staten Island, state constitution by diluting the voting power of Black and Latino residents. Justice Jeffrey Pearlman, a former counsel to Governor Kathy Hochul, ordered New York's Independent Redistricting Commission to draw a new map with a February 6th deadline. Democrats are eager to take advantage of the opportunity amid the redistricting efforts across the country.
People were skeptical about the Democratic capacity and willingness and ability to fight back. Republicans started this gerrymandering fight. Democrats are going to end it.
Democrats in Albany drew the state's congressional map for the 2026 election, but a Washington, D.C. firm of Democratic attorney Mark Elias filed a lawsuit in Manhattan targeting the only House Republican district in the city. Attorneys unsuccessfully asked the judge to connect Staten Island to Lower Manhattan. Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn have been in the same district since 1980, represented by a Republican for all but 2 terms since then.
Well, because the lines are drawn against them. It's not properly representing growth for minority communities, and that's what is supposed to be adjusted for. So I have confidence in the legal system.
John Faso, a former Republican congressman and attorney involved in the litigation, laid out the rationale for appeal.
It's a crazy decision. It's now, I think, a racial gerrymander that the judge is asking the legislature and the IRC to do, and I don't think it'll be upheld on appeal.
And when those appeals are filed, the litigation has to go pretty quick because ballot petitions have to go out by next month. So, Errol, time is of the essence here.
Yeah, and the court order was pretty firm. They were saying do not go forward with these current lines, right? So that already signals there's going to be a change. And, of course, changing one district means you have to change everything around it. So there's going to be kind of a chain reaction throughout the city.
Exactly. And I expect them to ask for an emergency order, basically putting that that court's order aside so that these elections can go through if there's going to. Candidates need to know where they're running. So you mentioned if you change a line in one district, it changes another. So the big question is Dan Goldman, right, represents New York 10, Brooklyn, and Lower Manhattan. So if Staten Island somehow picks up a chunk of his Manhattan part of the district, what happens to him? Does he run in Staten Island? Does he try to run in a more Brooklyn-centered part of his district where he's already facing a primary with Brad Lander? So those are really key questions. He did release a statement saying he is focused on his current district lines, but the important thing is making sure Hakeem Jeffries is the Speaker of the House. So if he ends up wanting to go try his chances in Staten Island against a Republican, he seems to at least be open to it.
Well, there's also the scenario where more of Bay Ridge and the Brooklyn side of the current district gets added to Dan Goldman's district as well, right?
And that's right. Makes it a little bit more moderate. But in these districts, even if you do add more Republican or conservative voters, it is still overwhelmingly Democratic and overwhelmingly progressive because you have Park Slope. And so it might change the tenor of the primary campaign between Goldman and Lander if that ultimately what happens.
Right. And while for our viewers it may sound like, oh, it's not over because there's going to be an appeal, but what judges decide tends to be taken seriously. I mean, there's no particular reason to think that this is going to get overturned, right?
No, not necessarily, and especially because they're going to have to appeal in New York State court, though I did ask John Faso about the potential for a federal challenge. He did say that is possible because the way the judge's order might come to fruition, it might be a racial gerrymander, which changes it, makes it appealable under federal law. But at the moment, the appeal has to focus on New York State courts. That's just a different set of laws altogether.
Okay. Thanks very much, Dan. It is time now for a break. When we come back, we'll turn to the race for governor and break down Governor Hochul's campaign cash. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure. Why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You're done with the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. For the first time in this campaign cycle, candidates for governor will be fundraising with much lower contribution limits. Candidates used to be able to accept donations of more than $70,000 from individuals. Now that number is down to just $18,000. But even under these new rules, Governor Kathy Hochul is raising serious campaign cash, with some of it coming from people who have business interests before the state. New York One investigative reporter Courtney Gross has crunched the numbers and is here now with some results. Good evening, Courtney.
Good evening, Harold. I do have a lot of numbers for you. In fact, during the 2022 campaign cycle, when Governor Kathy Hochul was first running for this statewide office, she raised about $53 million. This time around so far, she's raised about $30 million, and that's with the new guidelines.
I will take political questions later.
Hochul is not talking politics after a big fundraising haul, putting her well ahead of her competitors this year. According to new fundraising numbers filed for the last 6-month period ending in January, Hochul's fundraising far outpaced both her primary and Republican rivals in this year's race for governor. The governor already has more than $20 million to spend in this year's race so far, 16 times that of her rivals. She's in a good position going into campaign season.
It's budget time.
Since January 2023, Hochul has raised more than $30 million for her re-election bid, a large sum despite new campaign finance regulations, which create new public financing for campaigns while also reducing the state's maximum contribution limit. Nonetheless, some big names in accounting and real estate are some of her biggest backers.
The governor is in this interesting situation where anything from the left has been bolstered by the public financing system, whereas the lower contribution limits makes it harder for her to raise money against wealthy donors that may be coming at her from the Republican side of the ledger. So the system has changed, and I think it's made it harder for the governor to sort of thread that needle.
Despite these new regulations, candidates like Hochul are not prohibited from accepting donations from people with business before the state. New York One reviewed Hochul's campaign contributions, finding thousands of dollars from those looking for state business or action. In one instance, Hochul appears alongside a real estate developer in 2023 to announce the construction of a new state-backed affordable housing development in Yonkers. 3 months earlier, the CEO had given the maximum contribution to Hochul's campaign.
What this is all about is business interests and people with business before the state trying to influence the governor and influence state policy to their advantage. And it's all legal.
A spokesperson for Governor Hochul told New York One, the governor approaches every decision through the lens of what is best for New Yorkers. Campaign contributions have no influence on government decisions.
And so far, Governor Kathy Hochul has not registered for the public matching finance system. It's unclear when she will make that announcement. Errol, we were told by the campaign that she's expected to make that announcement sometime in February.
If she were to participate, how much might she get in matching funds?
So if you maxed out in the matching fund system, which you have to have a certain amount of small dollar donors, less than or about 5,000 statewide, and the most you can get is $3.5 million for the primary and then $3.5 million for the general. So when you think about how much money she can raise, she's known as a prolific fundraiser. She's raised millions upon millions of dollars in her short tenure as governor thus far. $3.5 million is really a drop in the bucket.
I can say it's a very small percentage of what she's already raised, and she's had more than $1 million night, I'm sure you've seen out there.
Yeah, so there's no necessarily incentive for her to participate in the public matching system. In addition, there are other requirements. If you do participate, for instance, you have to participate in a statewide debate, which she's expected to do anyway, but nonetheless, it's another requirement. Also, if you participate in the program, certain small dollar donations that you receive that you currently don't have to itemize or say who it's coming from, donations under $99, you would have to start saying every single person that gave you that amount of money. So there's more, essentially there's more disclosure requirements in addition to that debate requirement.
As you know, here in the city, the Campaign Finance Board is a pretty large bureaucracy that has to sort of go through every single donation and make sure that it meets scrutiny. Does the state have anything comparable to that?
So there's the State Board of Elections, which has always been there since the 1970s in its current form. It oversees this financing system. There is now a public finance board on the state level, akin to what we have in the city, that's comprised of about 7 members overseeing this entire process. And I was told that there has been more staff added because there's going to be a lot more scrutiny of these campaign accounts, especially if you're getting public matching money. We're already seeing that. We saw that because public matching dollars have already been distributed in previous legislative races in 2024.
Okay, thanks very much, Courtney. And a quick programming note, I'll be speaking with Bruce Blakeman about his campaign for governor in about 10 minutes. Right now, though, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about efforts by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to crack down on AI-generated deepfake pornography on the internet. A report from Washington, D.C. is coming up next. Stay with us.
Clear of the closing doors, please.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for Onstage.
Stage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.
It's only a hike. It's only made possible by Spectrum Business connecting healthcare providers of all sizes. Like hospitals relying on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network with industry-leading reliability. Practices keeping patient data safe with advanced security. Pharmacies accessing records in the cloud without fail. It's tailored connectivity solutions built for life-changing moments. It's only a hike. It's only everything. Spectrum Business.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important. Making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens, watching New York One, to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. In Washington, D.C. today, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the celebrity Paris Hilton joined forces working together on bipartisan legislation that would make it easier for victims of non-consensual AI-generated pornography to sue those who create or share the content. Our Shannon Ryan joins me now from our D.C. Bureau with more on this. Good evening, Shannon.
Good evening to you, Errol. Well, unfortunately, AI-generated pornography, it's not a new issue. However, the demand for legislation addressing it is something that we've seen grow in recent weeks. This comes after the AI platform Grok produced thousands of sexualized images of children in the 11 days after its image-generating feature launched. That's according to the Center for Countering Digital Hate.
I lost control over my body, over my reputation. My sense of safety and self-worth was stolen from me. And I fought hard to get
Full and personal testimony from an unlikely alliance of women Thursday on Capitol Hill. Celebrity entrepreneur Paris Hilton, Florida Republican Laurel Lee, and New York Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Not only is this a coalition of legislators, this is a coalition of survivors.
That coalition supporting legislation co-sponsored by the two congresswomen that, if passed, would make it easier for victims of non-consensual AI-generated pornography to sue those who create or share the content.
Since the public release of AI tools, we have seen an absolute explosion in AI-generated images used to sexually harass victims and children. Right now, 1 in 8 teenagers knows a friend who has been targeted by AI deepfake harassment.
It's the newest form of victimization happening at scale to your daughters, your sisters, your friends, and neighbors.
Hilton and Ocasio-Cortez said they've both been targeted.
There are over 100,000 explicit deepfake images of me made by AI. 100,000 circulating the internet. Not one of them is real. Not one of them is consensual. No amount of money or lawyers can stop or protect me.
As a survivor of sexual assault myself, this resurfaces trauma for so many people across the country. And that is what it is intended to do. Because the creation of this content parallels the same exact intention of physical assault, which is about power, domination, and humiliation.
Certainly some powerful words there, Errol. Now, the Senate has already approved the legislation, and Representatives Ocasio-Cortez and Lee said they're optimistic that the House Judiciary Committee will soon take up the measure and then send it to the full House for final consideration.
So, Shannon, how likely is this to make it all the way through? I know there are some First Amendment concerns that get raised by all of this, right?
Errol, there certainly have been, and I think that's because you're seeing a lot of tech platforms, even social media platforms in Grok's case, right, that's affiliated with Elon Musk's X, being used to generate this sort of content. However, because this bill would enable victims to go after people using such platforms to generate pornographic content, not those tech platforms themselves, the lawmakers we spoke with today said they don't feel that should be an issue.
Okay, thanks very much, Shannon. Also tonight, the Trump administration is preparing to rearrest Mahmoud Khalil. He's the Columbia graduate student and Palestinian activist, and they plan to deport him to Algeria. Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin made the announcement on News Nation last night. The move comes after a federal appeals court reversed a lower court's decision to release Khalil. Khalil gained prominence after being arrested during the Trump administration's crackdown on pro-Palestinian protests last year. The former Columbia graduate student was accused of lying on his application for permanent residency. Now Khalil, who has a green card, is challenging the White House effort to remove him. In a statement, his legal team said in part, quote, Mahmoud cannot be legally detained or deported now because his appeals process has not concluded. It is time now for a break. Coming up, I'll be joined in studio by the Republican candidate for governor, Bruce Blakeman. We'll talk about the state budget and his plans to face off against Governor Hochul this year. Stay with us.
My time at New York One has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Bergman.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network. And factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely. For my family, my service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are turning to the race for governor. We're just about 5 months away from the primary election in June, where our own Lieutenant Governor, Antonio Delgado. On the Republican side, though, Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman is running unopposed after Congresswoman Elise Stefanik abruptly suspended her campaign last month. With President Trump's coveted endorsement, Republicans all around the state are beginning to coalesce around Blakeman, who is building out a statewide campaign. Bruce Blakeman joins me now in studio to talk more about his campaign. Welcome to the program. Great to see you.
Thank you, Errol. Appreciate that.
Let me start by getting your reaction to the governor's preliminary budget that was released this week. What would you do differently?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would spend more money on infrastructure, on hospitals, on schools and education, and I wouldn't be spending billions of dollars on migrants who've been here for 15 minutes. I would put New Yorkers first. I want to be a governor that cares about the families here in New York, and that means investing in New York and not taking taxpayer dollars and giving people free homes, free transportation, free food, a free cell phone here, and they're not even here legally. So I would end the sanctuary program for the state. Start putting that money to work for New Yorkers.
Okay, let's get into it. I believe this governor, like her predecessor, interprets the state constitution and the state constitutional obligation to take care of the needy and the poor as extending to people regardless of their citizenship status. Do you see that differently?
Yes, I don't think that we should be doing that for people who are here illegally. Many of them are engaged in criminal enterprise. And the people who suffer the most are people who live in Hispanic and Latino communities. They don't want the overcrowding in their schools. They don't want their kids being recruited to go into gangs. And that's why I got 56% of the vote in the Hispanic and Latino communities in Nassau County and won in a landslide, because I went into those communities. I said, I want to protect your communities. I want to protect your families. And I explained to them why I was doing what I was doing. I think Kathy Hochul is exploiting the taxpayers of New York State. She's making it less safe, and she's making it unaffordable for New Yorkers because she's spending her money in the wrong areas.
I mean, hypothetically, if if the state were not taking care of migrants, for example, what would happen to them? I mean, would the expense be shifted?
We should send them back. They should be here. They're not supposed to be here. They came here under an asylum program that was completely flawed. They're not vetted. We don't know where they came from. We don't know what their backgrounds are. A lot of them are engaged in criminal activity. We just removed 46 illegal migrants from Nassau County last month. 27 of them were engaged in gang activity, and the rest were all involved in criminal activities, and we got them out of the county. It's a safer county, it's a safer region, it's a safer state by doing that. But having the program where you just let everybody in and then you use taxpayer dollars, that's not an immigration program. That's not how the immigrants came in from my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and people in this state who came to this country and had to work for what they got. They earned what they got, and she's not putting New Yorkers first.
Well, explain what you've been doing. My understanding is that you've been cooperating with ICE in Nassau County, the cops under your command, and that I think the number I saw was something like 3,000 people who were either arrested or removed last year. Is that right?
Yes, so we have the most comprehensive agreement with ICE in the United States. I've dedicated 50 jail cells to ICE, and I've dedicated 10 detectives from our Nassau County Police Department to ICE. And we're doing it because we want to make our communities safer. And we've done that. We're the safest county in America, according to U.S. News and World Report, because I'm very serious. I hired 600 new law enforcement officers just in the last 3 years, and I haven't raised taxes a penny in 4 years. We've gotten 7 bond upgrades. So that's what I want to do in New York State. Make people happy again by investing in them, bringing in jobs, creating economic development, making it more affordable by putting more money in people's pockets.
On the question of the relationship with ICE, are you essentially, I mean, you have a lot of capacity in Nassau County, but you're surely not doing the sort of the research that would be required to determine the status and so forth. Are you essentially trusting ICE to do that and to get it right?
Yeah, I think ICE is doing a very good job, and basically there have been very, very, very few mistakes. We haven't had any of them in Nassau County. And by the way, I believe in an immigration program. I believe in a guest worker program. I think we got to get serious. Listen, if you've been in this country and you overstayed your visa, you've been here for 10 years, you got kids in school, and you're earning a living and you're law-abiding, I think there should be a pathway for you to be normalized and legalized and not have to worry about being deported. So I'm going to recommend to the federal government that we have an immigration program, a guest worker program that works, not the one that they currently had under Biden-Harris where they just let everybody in.
Are you concerned about people either mistakenly or perhaps accurately seeing what you're suggesting as maybe bringing to New York some of the scenes that we've seen in Minnesota and some of these other jurisdictions where they have the masks and they're smashing through windows and grabbing people and so forth?
No, first of all, what's happening in Minneapolis is staged. It's paid professional agitators. We know that because we share a database with other law enforcement agencies. These are people that are anti-American. They want to cause trouble. We don't have those issues here because our police department is very respectful. When ICE came to my county, I said, You're not going in houses of worship. You're not going in daycare centers. You're not going in schools. And basically, they've adhered to that. And that's why, again, I got the support of the Hispanic and Latino communities.
Okay, let me ask you about some of the other parts of the governor's budget speech. There's this multi-year push to have the state subsidize pre-kindergarten, early child care, basically, child care services. Do you think that's a good idea or that maybe costs too much, or do you think it's just a bad idea at any price?
No, I'm in favor of child care support, but it should be done in the form of tax credits. Tax credits to those who are working. It shouldn't be just a handout, because we don't want to hand money to people who have kids who then stay home and they're watching TV all day. I want people who are working to get the benefit of a subsidy in the form of a tax credit so that they can send their kids to a child care center of their choice, not a city-run one, not a state-run one, not one from some not-for-profit that's friends of the governor. I want people to be able to have a choice with respect to that. If we have tax credits, that means they're working. We want people to work, and we want their kids in a safe and nurturing environment, not one dictated by the city of New York or the state of New York.
Governor Hochul heard some of your comments about her budget address. I think we have a clip, and I wanted to get your reaction to it. Let's play that.
You guys really listening to him? Come on. I guess I'll attempt to respond, but he clearly doesn't understand budgets. We have cut taxes. I've cut taxes on the middle class, not once, but twice. And one of those tax cuts is going to affect this very year. So we have cut taxes. We've also put more money back in New Yorkers' pockets.
I mean, that is a complete fabrication. We are the most overtaxed state in the United States. Every economist who has studied our tax structure says that, and for her to try and run away from it, she won't ever talk about her record. You want to talk about my record? I haven't raised taxes a penny in 4 years. I've gotten 7 bond upgrades from Wall Street. The state comptroller, a Democrat, Tom DiNapoli, said our finances were excellent. Contrast that with being the most overtaxed, overregulated state in the United States. She talks about affordability. She's been governor for 4 years. What have you done to make New York more affordable? She's given money to illegal migrants, money that should have gone to New Yorkers. It's their money. It's their taxpayer dollars. And she will never talk about her record because she's got a record of failure. She's made New Yorkers miserable. I want to make them happy again. We need a governor that cares about the people of the state.
A couple of more questions. When it comes to tax cuts, her predecessor, Governor Cuomo, famously created these tax-free zones. I believe somewhere in Nassau County, as a matter of fact. The economic results of that suggested that tax cuts alone are not going to revive the economy, right?
Yeah, so I'm in favor of enterprise zones. I think if you have areas that need a little help, if there's not enough economic activity in those communities, that we can set up enterprise zones. I think it's good for the communities. I think it's good for business. It's good for job creation. I want to put more money in people's pockets so they can make the choices on how they want to spend money. They're living paycheck to paycheck now. I don't want them only to have money for necessities. I want them to have money for luxuries too, so they can take their kids on vacation or buy their daughter a prom dress. Kathy Hochul hasn't done that. I want to make New Yorkers happy.
Okay. As you travel around the state, how much of this, or what would be the program for some of the rural areas? I grew up in a suburb. You grew up in a suburb. It's a very particular kind of a place. We're harnessed to this gigantic economic engine here in the city. That's not true in the southern tier and in the North Country and a lot of other places around the state.
Well, first of all, I would open up the southern tier to fracking so that we can have prosperity on the southern tier. On one side of the border in Pennsylvania, people are driving brand new Cadillac Escalades. On the New York side of the border, they're driving 25-year-old rusted out pickup trucks. I want to create jobs and prosperity. We're sitting on one of the largest natural gas reserves in the world, and we're not doing anything to get that natural gas out, create jobs, create prosperity, and cheap energy. We need cheap energy in this state. Kathy Hochul has done nothing about cheap energy. We have one of the highest utility rates in America. She's been involved in this, what I call green energy scam, where all her contributors get tons of money and tons of state funds that should be spent on other areas. I'm for an all of above approach for all of the above approach for energy. We should be looking at every energy generator rather than just on green energy.
Before I let you go, do you have a running mate you can announce tonight, or at least give us some indication of the kind of partner you're looking to run with?
So I'm looking for somebody that has honesty and integrity. I'm looking for somebody who could be governor from day one. I'm looking for somebody that shares my vision and philosophy, but I don't have a litmus test. We can disagree in certain areas because I'm a bridge builder, I'm a coalition builder, and that's how I win races in a county that's got 110,000 more Democrats than Republicans. Obviously, I get a lot of Democrat votes, and I get a majority of the independent voters. So I want a lieutenant governor who shares my philosophy and values and who reaches out to every community in this state and people of all races, religion, ethnic groups, lifestyles, and abilities. Under my administration, they'll be happy again, and they'll prosper, and they'll be better off for having me as governor.
Okay, we will see you out on the campaign trail and maybe up at the state convention. I think is going to be out your way on Long Island,
yes,
right?
Yes, it'll be out in Nassau County.
Okay,
thank you.
Best of luck.
Thanks, Eric.
Let's take a short break now. When we come back, the MTA is testing a new fare gate as it seeks to upgrade subway turnstiles and stop fare evasion. We're going to bring you those details in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer. As chief meteorologist at New York One, I'm honored to be able to help New Yorkers plan their day.
Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on, from severe weather updates to our Weather on the Ones. Watch the New York One weather experts with your Weather on the Ones on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. A new model of the much-talked-about modern fare gates made its debut yesterday morning as part of the MTA's pilot program to stop fare evasion. Most commuters say they did not even notice the difference, but the third and final version, which comes from a Korean company, has been installed at the 23rd Street station on the Lexington line, and that's where we find our New York One transit reporter, Samantha Liebman, who got reaction from commuters.
Commuters at the 23rd Street Baruch College 6 train station saw something new Wednesday morning. The third and final model of modern fare gates, part of an MTA pilot program testing them at 20 stations in the system at no cost to the MTA. This model from Korean company S-Traffic, which recently completed installation of the same gates at 50 BART stations in the San Francisco area. Here they follow installation of two models that were installed in stations in December from Conduent and Cubic, the company behind the Omni system. But the question is, will these new ones stop fare evaders? Maybe.
sure it's a good effort.
I guess we'll see how it pans out.
I think for now they are. I'm sure people will find a way.
I hope they work or do something positive. No, but hopefully it does.
On social media, people have been demonstrating how they evade the gates installed in December, tricking the sensors. We asked the MTA whether in the short time the others have been installed at several other stations if there's been a drop in fare evasion, but officials did not respond. There have also been videos of people getting stuck between doors or getting hit with them, as well as instances when too many people are entering and exiting at the same time, which caused chaos last month at the Broadway Lafayette station. So some riders are skeptical.
We'll see during peak hours. It's not super busy right now, so when people are trying to go out and coming in, I'm sure there'll be some bottlenecking.
The only problem with these fare gates that we've seen so far is that the doors seem to stay open a little bit too long, but we overheard company officials saying that they are going to adjust the timing. Meanwhile, this model of fare gate will next be at the 168th Street A and C station. In Gramercy, Samantha Liebman, New York 1.
It is time now for a break. Coming up, I'll focus on Governor Hochul's proposed reforms to speed up affordable housing construction statewide. We'll be talking with the executive director of Open New York, Anne-Marie Gray, in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
We have so many ways to stay connected. A single touch can bring us closer to the families we love, the friends we know, and the city we share. And Spectrum helps us keep connected throughout the day, every day. Including more ways to watch New York One as a Spectrum Internet customer. Watch Spectrum News New York One on the Spectrum News app, available on all your favorite devices.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it's saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Governor Kathy Hochul is proposing new reforms to speed up the environmental review process for housing construction around the state. Currently, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA for short, mandates a lengthy process for housing developers. Now, as part of Hochul's so-called Let Them Build agenda, the governor is pitching a series of reforms to speed up housing and infrastructure projects and thereby lower the cost. My next guest is a supporter of Hochul's plans. Anne-Marie Gray is the executive director of Open New York. She previously served in city government, including as a senior advisor on land use in the mayor's office under Bill de Blasio and Eric Adams. She also served on Mayor Mamdani's transition team. Welcome back to the program. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So now, according to the Hochul administration, manufacturing, housing, and energy projects can take as much as 56% longer in New York than in our comparable large states. Why is that?
So when you think about it, I mean, New Yorkers are facing soaring housing costs. and we saw a broad mandate for housing affordability and the government doing everything that it can. Right now, we have a process that most people never know about, that was designed 50 years ago when we needed tools to fight a toxic power plant in someone's backyard. Today, the environmental review process often ends up getting used by even just one person who's trying to stop energy-efficient, affordable housing development right above a transit stop. That's crazy, and it's just outdated, and it's not really serving our housing affordability or our climate goals.
So what would the specific change be? Is the idea to stop one person from having an effective veto, or are there going to be sort of more fundamental changes to the process?
So basically, it's this state law, and there have been changes that we've seen in California and other states across the country that have really started to tackle this. And you're just saying there's certain types of projects, again, say housing that is right next to transit, you know, already in a dense area, solar panels, upgrades to a building, for example, child care centers that also have housing, and that projects like this make a lot of sense. They're already meeting a lot of important climate goals. They should have a fast track, and we should just make sure that the process moves a lot faster.
So is the idea to sort of streamline the process, or to sort of create some categorical sort of fast tracks to move different projects through the process more quickly?
There are a series of parts to what the bill is doing, but it's basically taking projects like that and putting them in a slightly different category to make sure they get faster review, and frankly make sure that projects of all types have some cap on how long the review can be, to make sure we're not, again, letting one person stall a project for over a decade, which has happened, for example, to a child care and housing project in Buffalo that started 10 years ago and still hasn't been built.
Yeah, tell me more about these horror stories. I know there were some allusions to them, but give us one or two here in the city that people might know about.
There are a wide range of examples. We have a broad coalition across the state that's been really like elevating the types of projects and building a coalition. Again, there's a project that I know in Buffalo that was a housing with childcare that truly has been held up for over a decade. We've seen senior housing projects in the city. We've seen projects that are nowhere good, like get challenges that just delay the process. They ended up getting built, but they could have been built many years earlier.
My understanding is, first of all, that SECRA is supposed to be sort of self-executing, meaning all around the state, individual counties or municipalities are supposed to figure out how that law would apply. And in New York City, it tends to be the Uniform Land Use Review procedure, right? I mean, that's kind of our version of it. In a case like that, my understanding is that it's supposed to encourage discussion, meaning it's not intended to stop the process, but it's intended to sort of pause the process so that, say, developers and communities can maybe work out something, add some units, put in an amenity, maybe put in a, you know, sort of noise control or other quality of life kind of provisions, right?
So this is a state law that requires a whole lot of different types of paperwork, right? Some of them we need to make sure that we keep in place because they are making sure we have the right important safeguards. A lot of them, they're just outdated, right? They're measuring traffic counts 5 years in the future, and it's like loads and loads of paperwork that actually they're not aligned with our climate goals, with our housing affordability goals, and they end up really getting weaponized by people who are just trying to stop projects for the wrong reasons.
It has evolved from what you first described when it was created sort of at the dawn of the modern environmental movement, right? The Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, SECRA all kind of come into existence around the same time. And it has since evolved into a way that local communities have input into projects. That's kind of what I was getting at a minute ago. So that political and economic leaders don't just disregard them on their way to building some new project. How do you preserve local input while also speeding up the process, as you're describing?
I think what's important to keep in mind, we are modernizing a process that just really hasn't been updated in like 50 years, right? And there are a lot of changes that make a lot of sense. Recent polling came out showing that the majority of New Yorkers across the region, across party lines, across demographics support this. 3 out of 4 New York City voters support this. So this is just modernizing things that make a lot of sense that most people don't even know are really on the books. And also this is about taking projects that local officials have already approved, but then get stalled even after approval. So this is projects that people have already weighed in on, already approved, and they just get held up because we have a process where one person can use this sort of obscure rule and hold up something that actually everyone has agreed is in the best interest for housing affordability, bringing down costs and climate goals.
Some of the projects that I've reported on over the years, it's that first step, creating the draft environmental impact statement. A big fight followed by lawsuits and more fights and hearings and so forth, just to figure out what is supposed to be measured. That always struck me as the real slowdown point, that you take a year just to figure out what it is you're supposed to measure, and then you fight over that. And then there might be a holdout at the end of that as well.
I think there are so many points in this process to really look at and just to really upgrade and just modernize to make sure that our processes are measuring the right things, and that, again, we are really making sure government is using every single tool at its disposal to simultaneously address cost of living and the dire housing affordability crisis that New York is in, while also making sure we're meeting our climate goals effectively.
What's an example of another state, a large state, that has streamlined its process and sort of seen some benefits from it?
Yeah, so last summer, California just passed a huge statewide modernization of their environmental review process. So there's a lot of precedent. We are really, we're building a really large, broad, and diverse coalition across the state of people that really recognize this. And we're part of a national recognition that it's time to modernize these rules.
You've mentioned climate goals a number of times, but there's more to it than that, right? I mean, what somebody considers an environmental impact can vary from community to community and project to project, right? In some cases, people want more light. They don't want, you know, shadows cast over Central Park or something like that.
So the rules upgrade a wide range of things, right? Like child care centers is an example. Again, solar panels on buildings. Housing is clearly the one that is most important for us to really address our housing affordability goals. And this is just really making sure that we are not letting outdated processes hold up what government is. We have a really clear mandate that government really needs to do, and make sure we're building housing and all of these other amenities as fast as possible. Same with transit, climate infrastructure, things like that.
If the governor is successful and this gets passed in this year's budget, when you and I talk next year, what will be different?
So what's so exciting about this moment is we have the governor, we have Mayor Mamdani, the first day came out in support of this. The state Senate passed a version of this bill last year. So I think it's a really important year to really finally get this passed. And we're just going to be able to see all sorts of projects move along faster. And we're no longer going to see projects get stuck in, again, sometimes a full decade of delay. When it's something that we've all widely recognized is really important to meet our goals.
Okay, we will continue to follow this as we get deeper into the budget season. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything.
Hey, brother. Be careful.
Movies.
I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
You're a superhero.
No.
Series.
There was another murder in the building.
Sports. Reality.
Here's to a summer you'll never forget.
News.
Here's a look at today's top story.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
Even more of your favorites with live TV.
Welcome into First Take.
Stream across your devices and watch anywhere. At home or out and about. It's the entertainment experience you've been waiting for. Streaming apps included at no extra cost.
Just got that, pal. Get a good look.
With live TV and on demand. All together, all in one place for you to enjoy.
It's whatever kind of adventure we want it to be.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
Feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss.